All right, welcome to the Real Estate Game Changers show. I'm your host, Mike McKay, based in the Jacksonville, Florida market. And each Friday at 4 p.m., we dive deep with guests from all over the country who are changing the game in real estate. This is a live show, so make sure you comment with any questions for our guests to answer. This week, our guest is Gino Palomba. Gino started his real estate journey at the age of 19 when he found some wholesaling videos on YouTube, making $170,000 on his first year wholesaling while in college. Just a few years later, Gino owns 24 rental units and his company makes over six figures a month in net profit with a team of 45 people located all over the world. Gino, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Mike. I appreciate it. Thanks for bringing me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, man. Usual first question I always ask, and we covered it a little bit in your intro, but if you could dive into a little bit more detail about how you got started watching those YouTube videos and kind of leading up to your first deal.
Yeah, how I did was simply I was on my couch one day, freshman year of college. Actually, it was the beginning of sophomore year in like October, and I was just going around YouTube, and I always had an entrepreneur mindset, and what came up was a Max Maxwell video of wholesaling real estate. And so I quickly picked that topic up. I just watched as much videos as I could, as many as I could. And within about a month and a half, I had my first deal. So all starting from that YouTube video of Max Maxwell.
That's awesome. And from watching that video, you said it took about a month and a half, month and a half to get your first deal. I mean, what did you do between watching that video and getting that first deal that allowed you to get that first deal?
Yeah, good question. So what I do, like one of his first videos I watched was talking about bandit signs, the signs we buy houses, right? On the side of the road.
Yeah.
So I immediately ordered from the website, he said, ordered 200 and started putting them out within about 5 days once I received them. And I got my first, like, funny enough, the seller called me probably like day 7 of wholesaling real estate. For instance, when I saw the video. And at that time, I thought that I was kind of learning from a buddy's, my buddy from baseball. His dad used to do a bunch of real estate. And I just texted him and I was like, hey, I'm getting into it. He said, great. Make sure you do 0.7 times ARV minus repairs minus your wholesale, fee. Like he told me that's what I should do because I asked him how should I decide what property is worth or not. So the seller calls me 7 days in and I followed the strategy he told me with that calculator. And long story short, I went on the appointment and I was like 50. And I was like, oh, there's nothing I can do. And again, this is like day 7 or 8 of doing, real estate. And I was like, man, there goes a failure already. Fast forward about 2 weeks, I started calling buyers, right? I started building a buyers list, and the buyers, one of them answered, and he said, "Where do you have anything?" I said, "No, but I did have a property over here that the seller, was looking for, a certain amount of money. I would want to make around 210. And I would want to, sell for around 210." He said, "I'll be there tomorrow. Meet me there." And I didn't even have the agreement. And I told the buyer that too. I just said, like, I had this. He said, "Call that seller up, say you want it, and I'll want to come out and see the property." And actually, I told the buyer 215 because I remember he went there that day or the next day. It was like a Friday, Saturday. I told the seller, meet me at the property at like 9 a.m. I got the signature signed with the seller at 200,000. And then at like 9:30, the buyer walks in, and I was all nerve wracked. And the seller knew what I was doing too, pretty much. And I got so lucky on this first. The seller knew what I was doing. He's like, "Who is this?" I said, "Yeah, it's just a." He's like, "Oh, it's your investor, right? That's going to buy the property." I said, "Yeah." And he didn't care. He's like, "Just as long as you can close in 7 days at 200,000, I don't care." And so he immediately, we signed the contract. Me, the buyer came in. I was scared, crapless. And the seller comes in at 215. The buyer, I told him I wanted at 215, and he ended up like coming back. He's like, "Could you do 210?" And of course, for me, I was like, "This is like, of course I could do 210. I make $10,000.
Right.
I'm 19. It's like my first couple weeks through." And so, long story short, that's how the first deal happened. It was definitely a special one. I did a lot easier than some other people. I got lucky, but it's part of the process, I guess. Right? I guess you got to get lucky sometimes.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. It goes to show you too how important the market knowledge is, right? You know, that point 0.7 formula. I mean, if you can get it at that price, I mean, that's great, but that's not always the price that people will pay. At the end of the day, they'll pay
Yeah, and
quite a
that's the
bit more
thing.
than
Like
that.
for example, number wise, it was like my offer was like 165, and my original
Wow.
offer with that, and I ended up getting 210 just because it was such a good area, and I probably had my ARV too low, which is rare for a beginner wholesaler, but my ARV was probably too low.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah, I was like so worried. I think about like not like making because I kept seeing videos on it like don't overestimate, and so like I guess I went underestimating and got that a great deal. They flipped it. They bought it for 210 for me. They put 60
Yeah.
into it, so they're in at about 270. They had holding costs, but they sold it for 370.
Wow. That's a good deal for them too.
Yeah. Yeah, it took them to like 10 months though. I think they were like the first flips or something, but they did take them a while. But yeah, I was actually funny enough looking at it this week for the first time in like 2 years. I was comping a property
Yeah.
near and I was like, oh shoot, is this the one? And we looked at it.
Yeah.
That's why I knew those numbers off the bat.
That's awesome, man. So you get your first deal, you make 10 grand off bandit signs. What's next?
What was next? I just dove into cold calling probates and I had no idea what I was doing. Didn't see a deal happen for another 3 months and finally got another bandit sign call. And it was a house. My second deal was a house that was completely remodeled. And the seller was just motivated as can be. Again, I used some formula. It was like I offered him 220. He said, heck no, but could you do 230? I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, 230. And I sold it for 255 like
Wow.
2 days later. And the house is really worth like 350. Looking back now, I could have got so much more. But yeah, I know. So what was next?
Sure.
Just cold call, and never had any success. Funny enough, in cold calling, I had that bandit sign hit, and this is again November. I had cold call for about 3 or 4 months, no deal, and then come again in March or February. I got my second deal, and it was like a bigger one, right? 25K. I'm like, all right, here we go. And then
Yeah.
I started finding actually why I was not missing, why I was not doing that great in cold calling, and that was because I was not using great lists. I just kept calling probates, nothing would happen. Like everyone's calling probates, and then I finally realized like, hey, I need to buy some absentee data. I need to skip trace, and that's when we started seeing the deal flow pick up.
Yeah. And did you stop putting in bandit signs out, or you were still kind of doing that
Yeah, that
every
was a
week?
dumb thing for me. Like, I no, excuse me. I did put up bandit signs for another like 4 or 5 months, and actually kept getting deals. So I got that one deal in March, and then I got another deal after that. But then it was like my third deal in. I was like, all right, I need to start cold calling and texting to scale up. And like looking back on it, I should just kept putting bandit signs out. But I did keep getting like calls from the sheriff's office, probably once a month, like in my county and the city, just saying like, come take these down. And I was scared. Like one time I put it like for these people that might be watching it or watching the recording in Georgia, there's a city called Marietta. It's a pretty historic city because it was kind of around a lot of the Civil War monuments and things. And they would take pride, it's like a nice, they got a square, like an old Southern square, like all this. And I started just putting all these signs on stop signs. I put the signs on the stop signs, zip tied them. And like I probably put out, me and my buddy probably put out 25, 30. And I just remember, and it's a pretty big city, but we put out a bunch. And I just remember the next day, like getting a call. Hey, this is, Officer Bennett with the Marietta Police, Department. We see that you've placed signs all over public property, or excuse me, all over like government, like owned property. And you need to take these down or else we're going to charge you $1,000 per sign. And of course, he was just saying that. Of course, they're just saying
Yeah.
that to scare you. But like for me, I'm like, shit, that's $20,000 or $30,000. I need to get those. So like the next night at 1 a.m., we went out and like put them all down. And it was
Yeah.
just like at that point, I think that's when we're like, all right, let's start cold calling. And then we actually found texting like a couple months later.
Got it. So you start cold calling, not successful at first, and maybe it picks up
No,
a little bit when you get the right
yeah,
leads. Were you cold calling yourself, or
yeah,
you
it was
had
just
some
me.
VAs
It
doing
was
it?
me cold calling
Just you.
for the first 5 months. Right, just me call. Um, just nothing. I just kept calling and calling, and finally, like you said, I got better leads, better data. In May, I think I closed my first cold call lead. So about
Okay.
what is that? 7 months later from my first cold call to. I guess I did. Kind of take a while get my
Yeah.
first one.
And then at that point, you decided to switch to texting, or you discovered texting. What happened there?
Yeah, I specifically remember discovering texting May of 2019 because I went to an event. On the way to the event, it was the event of Tony Robinson, Maxwell's mentor,
Okay.
and I went to an event, and it was in May. It was in Charlotte of 2019, and I remember like on the way home we were listening to some podcasts, and they started talking about texting. I was like, oh shoot,
Mm.
we should start texting people, and we actually started just texting land. That's what we did. We texted for land
Huh.
deals. Well,
Okay.
that didn't go anywhere for 2 months. We didn't get any land deals that turned out to anything. But then I was like, why don't we do just texting properties? Long story short, by like July of 2020 or 2019, excuse me, we were full force texting properties. And by that next 6 months, I mean, we got so many under contract and deals compared to what that's what turned us probably like $50,000 in July to where we finished at 180, 190,000 end of the year.
Wow. And do you think that it was all attributed to texting there, or were you getting better in other areas that allowed you to do that?
I would say we were obviously getting better business people because every single day we're watching stuff, getting better, watching podcasts, whatever it may be. But I would attribute a lot of it to success, just consistently marketing and being able to texting reach so much more people than cold calling, even just because you can send a text a lot faster than a call, and people answer the text more, right? So just having a lot more
Mhm.
traction there, and that was the beginning of texting too, like 2019, 3 years ago. Not a lot of people were texting. And so like
Yeah.
you dominate your market with that.
Yep. So that was 2019. So 2020 comes around, you know, I mean, what did 2020 look like for you?
In terms of what perspective per se?
Yes, I mean, you kind of go from doing a few deals. I mean, you end the year with
Yeah.
170 grand, which is pretty damn good. And then, I mean, you've obviously taken things to the next level today. But what did 2021?
Yeah,
Sorry, what did
yeah,
2020 look like?
2020.
2021 to get up here? Yeah.
Yeah, so 2020 is a good question. So I actually invested in Steve Chang's mentorship, which is how we met in
Yep.
December of 2019. So I remember it was like right before New Year's, and so I was like, all right, I'm starting January fresh. So join his mentorship. At that point, I had one lead manager, one admin assistant, and I had another partner at the time. And we were still lined up pretty good, but we knew we had a lot of room to grow. So we ended up joining Steve's mentorship, Steve Trang, and immediately saw a bunch of success. Right, I was closing all the deals. I immediately increased my closing per deals from doing one a month, 1 to 2 a month, if that, to now going up to 3 to 4. Right,
Wow.
and so and Steve I would give him all the credit on that respect because I didn't have a process of sales. I didn't have a sales process. And it
Hmm.
was something I always wanted to get out of the acquisition manager role. Not that because I didn't enjoy it and that I was good at it. Like I did, but I just knew that I could be working on the business. And you can't do that unless you have that sales process. And
Hmm.
so at that time, I didn't have that. Steve started teaching me that. I started implementing it myself. And then by March of that year, I hired an acquisition manager.
Wow.
And
Okay.
soon as that happened, we started shooting up like crazy. So at the end of that year, we did about 700, 750 in 2020. And I highly credit all that to being able to outsource myself and focus on more of a owner's role, becoming a better
Hmm.
leader and manager versus having to do all the roles in the company. And so I still was obviously in charge of the AM, department, but I just wasn't the one making the calls. And so that was again 2020. By the July 2020, that's also when Chandler decided to start working with us. We finally
Okay.
convinced him. It took forever. We finally convinced him. He used to be sitting actually in this room right now where I'm filming this. He used to be our roommate. His bed's right here. I'm looking at it. And
No way.
he used to just, yeah, he used to be down here. Actually, this used to be where his bed was. But he used to just be playing, he'd be laughing right now, but playing Fortnite, working out. Like that's all we used to do. And me and my other partner, who actually was my other roommate in this townhouse that I'm in,
Yeah.
were the ones putting out bandit signs. I remember we used to drag Chandler out like at 1 o'clock in the morning, like Chandler, just come with us because we just wanted him to put the bandit signs out with us. Like we didn't want to get
Yeah.
out the car. We would just convince Chandler to do it. and it worked like every time. And so Chandler was a big help in the beginning. Like I'm talking about months of like May, June, even early
Yeah.
like February, and then Chandler, we finally convinced him like, bro, start texting for us. And so he started texting. And that's how he started out. He was texting for us. We had a marketing director at that time, who's actually still the marketing director now, from Venezuela. And yeah, so Chandler was started out texting, and then quickly we saw that we needed his help. He took over again the marketing role. He took it back over and started like growing that tremendously. Systemized it, got that Venezuelan girl up to par, Marian, and then immediately started working on other departments. And by that time, it leads us to 2021, where we started really excelling.
Yeah. Was did Chandler go to school with you? Is that how you guys knew each other?
Yeah.
Or?
So I actually knew Chandler from when we were 12. We played baseball together. Then
Yeah.
from 12 years on, we didn't have, he went to high school, like an hour away from mine, 30, probably, yeah, like 45 minutes to an hour away from mine. So we didn't really connect until his mom or his dad texted my dad, and he's like, hey, Chandler's looking for a place to stay. Can he come stay with you guys? This is sophomore year. I mean, this is
Yeah.
2019, 2020. And so
Yeah.
then we were like, all right, yeah, Chandler, come on. And again, at this time, remember, I have another partner at this time, and he was also on the same baseball team as me and Chandler too. So we're like, oh shoot, we're about to have Chandler. We haven't seen him in 15 years. We used to put, or like 10 years. We used to put Chandler, like I'm telling everyone everything here, but we used to get Chandler when we were like 12. Used to just hold him down and like just harass him as like a little baby because he was so small. He would be dying laughing right now. We used to just freaking grab him and put him. And so we're like, dang, me and my partner at the time, we're like, yeah, we're ready to see Chandler again. We're going to mess with him. And then he comes back just jacked. He comes out juiced. He was a state champion wrestler. We're like, oh shit, we can't mess with this kid now. Like there's no messing with him now. And even though he's still like older than all of us, but like we can't mess with this kid. And so yeah, the long story short, yeah, Chandler was living with us, and then he didn't join us until about 8-9 months after he moved in, like into real estate.
Yeah.
He was just down here while we were doing stuff, and he was doing some other marketing stuff for his dad that owned a business, but he was just and come on. Finally, he decided to come, and then at the end of that 2020, I decided to tell my partner at that time, like, hey, bro, let's just separate because we've been good friends since we were like 7, and I only brought him in the wholesaling business. Literally, when I was watching that video of Max Maxwell that I explained earlier, he was
Yeah.
filming a main role in a Netflix movie.
Wow.
And so at that time, he had no clue. So he came back, and we always did a lot of business stuff together, did a lot of entrepreneur stuff together before this. So when he came back in like October, like 2 or 3 weeks. Because my first video was like October 1st, right? So he came back like later in October, and I was like already putting bandit signs out, and he's like helping me with it. And I was like, bro, I found the new thing for us to do. It's this wholesaling real estate. And so long story
Yeah.
short, he helped me put out like my first like couple bandit signs, and I gave him like 10% of the first deal. Anyway, we partnered up on that. But why I brought that up is because end of 2020, he was focusing more on acting stuff. That was what he
Uh-huh.
wanted to do.
Yeah.
I brought him into the wholesale business. He didn't really like, it was more like a job for him, even though he was an
Yeah.
owner in the company. I felt like I was holding him like an employee. Like I had to hold him accountable, like employee. Like, bro, did you make those calls? Oh no, you were studying your script. What the man? Like we would get pissed. And then when Chandler joined in August, Chandler helped push me to like make the decision because he's like, bro, he's not doing anything, bro. Get it. And so long story short, we parted ways. We had a mutual agreement. We're still friends. Like I'm golfing with him today, and we're still good friends. And we just decided to part ways in 2020, end of 2020. Right. So 2021 was me and Chandler's first year together.
Gotcha. And then you said like a lot of your stuff shifted when you joined Steve Trank's mastermind and learned his sales stuff. And obviously I was in that mastermind as well, learned a lot from Steve. What did you shift in your sales process? Or I guess you didn't really have one before, but what was the biggest thing that you changed coming from Steve's mastermind that helped you increase that closing rate dramatically?
I would say two things. One is understanding that how to dig deeper into seller's pain, how to use that
Mhm.
pain to get bigger discounts, right? How to expose it more to the seller to come out and share more of that pain to you so you can dive deeper into it and asking those questions, right? He taught us those questions to get us there, right? He taught us how we
Mhm.
ask certain questions um, to make us dive deeper into a seller. And then the second thing in there one of the most important things was actually have an appointment. I used to never set appointments. I would just be like calling sellers up that the lead manager said was good. Hey, I think we're around this range. I don't know. What do you think about that? Like, I didn't have specific appointments I was measuring. It was just, hey, free
Yeah.
for all. Let's just call them. This guy seemed kind of interested. Let's just hope it works versus
Yeah.
having a process of how we can set up appointment, what expectations we set, all that good stuff.
Yeah. And were you closing from the beginning all your stuff on the phone, or were you running in-person appointments for a
Well,
certain
actually,
amount of
funny
time?
enough, my first deal, I guess technically, yeah, first deal I did it in, that was the only deal I actually went intentional in person for.
Yeah.
Other deals, like, and I went there and I didn't get it, but I called him on the phone, like those 3 weeks later and said, hey, I could do it
Yeah.
at this price. And he said, all right, meet me to sign. Yeah, no, I was, for my eternity, it was just locking things up on the phone,
Yeah.
other than that first one.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
And now, I mean, you guys run, a fairly large phone sales team. I think Jared was saying earlier, you guys are up to 8 lead managers and I think 4 acquisitions guys.
Yep.
I mean, um, how do you manage a sales team that large and make sure that they're all being effective?
Yeah, that's a good question. Big question there is I got very good people. So, for example, the LM team, I have stopped managing them about 6 months because I allowed the best LM that we knew was a great leader as well. It's not just the best LM, because if you just give the best LM leadership roles, you'll more than likely just probably not succeed, right? Because a person that makes a person that's a good LM doesn't mean they're probably not a good manager, right? Just because
Hmm.
how the human, the salesperson is. But this guy we knew was really good at managing people. He was an athlete. He was a captain of his football team. This guy knew what he was doing in terms of management. So to
Hmm.
answer your question, Mike, how I'm able to do it is I have Jordan, who's that LM director. He
Hmm.
manages all lead managers. I don't touch lead managers. I don't even look at their numbers. He manages them all. Obviously, I look at the numbers as a CEO, but I don't look at them as a sales director. He manages all of them. He trains them. He does all that. And now with AM director, I just recently took back over that role about 3 or 4 months ago. I'm able just to manage 4 people. 4 people for me is a lot easier than managing the other 8 LMs too. So for me, it's just having multiple meetings every day, about 30 to 45 minutes, maybe even an hour worth of meetings a day, um, of constantly checking numbers, role playing, live calls, right? We do about 30 minutes in the morning of role playing plus recapping the day before. And then the afternoon, we spend about 30 minutes, 5 minutes of that 30 being that we recap already what happened today. So we'll meet at 3. We'll say, how's your day been going so far? Any rebuttals, any objections, any people we need to talk about to get you to the finish line of a contract? No. Okay, the next 25, 30 minutes or next 25, 20 minutes, we're going to listen to a live role play, live
Hmm.
call. And that's what I'm handling now, and that's how I'm able to manage the people. Acquisition management side of things is just constantly having these calls now.
Gotcha. And you said a key to that is having good people, right? Obviously, hiring is a huge part. What does your guys' hiring process look like to make sure you get people who are A players?
Yeah, good question. So, first thing we do is we track their core values, right? Or we see what their core values are. So, our company obviously has core values that we defined, and it's commitment, integrity, and growth mindset. So, we'll ask the individuals and say, like, hey, when we're hiring them, please put 3 people that you're really close to. Write down those 3 people that you admire the most, that you actually know, right? Family members, friends, or cut, whatever it is, but someone that you personally know. Don't pick LeBron James. You don't know him. So
Hmm.
3 personal characteristics, write down, of the 3 people you admire. So 3 each, right? So there's 9 total. And what you'll start seeing is that they're going to write down my mom. Why? Because she works so hard. She's selfless is the second thing. She's she's constantly trying to make our family better. Well, they'll do that for the 3 people. And what you'll start seeing is that that person's core values will start showing, because your core values come from the 3 people you admire. That's who you want to be. You want to be like them because, or attempt to act like them. And so, like, you can see there, like, if you start seeing a trend that, like, hey, this person shows commitment. He's talking about his
Hmm.
mom who went through above and beyond measures to raise him as a child, as a single mom. Like, that's that's commitment. He shows integrity, right? His always his mom always tells him, don't tell a lie, like, and again, it's not ever going to be completely personal, like they're going to match all three of your core values in terms of like their examples, but you can start
Yeah.
getting a feel of it. If it's like, hey, it's always just find a way to make things happen. I mean, that's commitment, right? Like it's just certain things that you look at. So that's how we start out with it, Mike, is that's our first filter. After that, it's a couple tests, right? I'll tell you, for salespeople specifically, our lead managers, because we only hire lead managers to be AMs. That's
Hmm.
our flow. So it's how we find LMs is, look, we'll send them, another key tip here is we'll send them the recording once out there they have the right core values. We'll then send them a recording, or excuse me, the script. We'll have them say, hey, look, read us the script and send a recording back. Once they give us the recording back, we'll listen to it. We don't expect them to be good at first, right? We just want to listen. And then what we'll do is we'll actually send him or her a video back of us reading the script, or one of the directors like Jordan showing it
Hmm.
the right way. Then we tell them, hey, we'll send this to you, watch it, and then send us another one back. And we want to see if they're teachable. We want to see if they've learned anything and gotten better. They're still the same as they are in the first call, or they're similar. They're not someone we want. We want someone that can quickly learn the process, the
Hmm.
script. We want someone that's been maybe very bad in the beginning, that first one they sent to us, but then now it's become, sounds pretty good. Not perfect, but pretty good. And that will tell us that this person is actually someone that wants to be on our team, or someone that could be on our team that can grow quickly with who we're
Hmm.
doing, what we're doing, and that can actually teach them, learn to be taught. Because some people, you can tell them exactly how to do something. Like, that's why I usually don't like to hire people that have been in real estate, because if they think they know already, like, hey, I was a lead manager for someone else, those are going to be the hardest people to teach, because they think they already know the answers, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So you put them through that, you have their script improvements good. What's the next stage in your hiring process?
Yeah. So once we figured out they're a good fit, they'll do an interview, right? And this all happens usually with our HR person or hiring
Okay.
person, right? And they'll do the interview with core values. They've already got the video back. If they pass that, then they'll go to the LM director. Jordan will sit on a call with them, ask them questions, get a better feel of who they are, see if they really just bond in. What he's just trying to do is feel like, hey, look, is this someone I'm going to want to be directing? Does this guy seem stingy? Does this guy seem like he's selfish or selfish? Is this guy like, what is this? How's the feeling we got here with this girl or boy? Then if they pass that test, then they're going to get on a call with Chandler. That pretty much means that they've gotten far enough. Now they've already done a number of tests, right? Even in the beginning, I left out some where they do predictive index testing, trying to see what kind of personality, which is, we don't heavily rely on that, but it's something to look at. And then also we let them do a cog test. Again, something that we don't unhire and hire for. Like, we're not using that solely for to hire that person or not, but it's something that we can at least look at and see how quick do they learn something, because that's how what a cog is, right? How quickly you can process the information and learn,
Sure.
or complete the test, right? So long story short, we do all those tests. They have the interview with DJ, who's our HR guy. Then you have with Jordan, he's testing the person's character. He's still talking with them, has about a 15-30 minute call. And then there'll be a call with Chandler, the COO, and with Jordan. And they're now going to come in different angles. Hey, tell me what you would do in this scenario. What would happen if you don't get a deal in the next 60 days? What would you do?
Hmm.
Obviously, they're going to tell you some things at first that they want. Oh, I'll stay. I'll keep working hard. But are you okay knowing that you're not going to make money then? And so just role playing stuff. See how they react if they start getting scared. Again, this is what they'll do on the phones with a seller too. So just feeling them out, and then they'll
Mm,
decide there if they get the job. And Chandler's there then to welcome them and start that process of onboarding with Jordan.
gotcha. Um, so I don't think we finished your journey from before. So I think you were through 2020, your other partner's out, you and Chandler 2021. I mean, you guys grew a
Yeah.
ton in 2021, 2022. Can you tell me like more about those years?
Yeah, 2021. So beginning of 2021, we joined CG, Collective Genius, the big mastermind. Quickly got into learning how to even scale up even more with our team members. We went from, probably in 2020, we probably had like 10 people, to the end of last year being at 25. So almost more than doubling our team, about like 150%.
Hmm.
From 2020 to 2021, texters, cold callers, we hit it hard, man. We sold a bunch of deals to Open Door. We took advantage by, partnering, or, by getting mentorship from a bunch of high level individuals and the Collective Genius and other masterminds, where they told us like way ahead of anyone, go start selling open doors, start selling to people, and that just allowed us to get on top of a lot of things. So we rode that wave, did about 1.8 million last year, and led us into this year where we took a big jump into just let's go for massive scale. And so beginning of the year was great. Our first quarter was a dream. We did like 400,000 and 450 in the month of March. We're on a good pace.
Wow.
And to be honest with you, since the second quarter, a lot of it we got not destroyed, but we got pretty handed it to us as a business owner. What could happen quickly? We ended up only closing or locking up 9 deals in April when we were projecting to do 22. So we went from doing March 23 contracts. I have something at the end to talk about it wise is we realized that, we went from, again, hitting our goal of 22 to only being able to hit 9. May, we did 11 when our goal was 24. So we were missing our goal, right? We had a great March, great February, great January, big deals, big profits. And then we hit these months, and obviously we still made a lot of money in April and May because the deals we locked up in March were closing in May and June. But by the time those deals caught up with us, from the ones that we only got in April and May, our July, we lost money. I mean, it's just the truth of the matter, right? We lost money in July because by the time those deals that were supposed to close in May and April, we missed by so much numbers that, look, we lost money. And not only that, what happened? And this is a good learning experience. The Q2 was the market also shifted. 45K per spread. We end up going down to 30, which is still a lot, but you're talking about 15K extra per deal that we already projected. And now we have less deals. We've made a lot less money than we thought during those Q2. And so this year has been really truthfully testing just our ability to be able to grow and pivot quickly. And me and Chandler did. We knew it was coming, and that's what was good. We were only going to get 9 contracts, obviously. But now, like, we knew we were going to lose money in July because we projected out. We looked at our numbers. And here's the biggest thing we learned. You need to hire, especially with salespeople, dispo and acquisitions, or dispo lead management acquisition. You need to hire 50% or more people than what you think you need. So, for example, Mike, you're talking to me earlier. I don't know if we were on air yet or not, but we were. You said we have 8 LMs. Like, we're hiring. We only need 10. We only need to hire 8 more. Or we need to hire 12 LMs, but we're going to go and try to hire, 12 total, right? 4 more, but we're going to try to bring on another 8, right? And just see what happens. So, like, we're hiring at 50% of capacity. Like, if I'm going to want, for example, I only need 1 more AM to hit my contract goal per month, I'm going to hire 2. Because what you want to bake into there, what happened in May and happened in April, is our stamina on our sales team diminished. One person gets sick, then they're out a week. The next person starts having a bad day because their girlfriend broke up. And that's not really what happened, but something like similar to where their mindset diminished, right? They're like feeling down. They're sad on themselves. And it's my job as a leader. I failed, right? And that time I was the AM director of not, making this person feel as if they could be doing better and not bringing them up, just focusing more on numbers on my part. I was like, bro, come on, keep going. Just make this amount of calls. You'll do it. Long story short, the reason you hire 50% more, especially in sales, is 1, it's mostly commission based anyway. And 2, you need to be able to you need to be able to know that you're going to fail. And you, meaning the people in your system, they're going to fail. Your employees aren't going to be 100% every time. You can't project that they're going to be perfect. That's just the human beings. You can't be perfect. I wasn't perfect, obviously. But if I had another 5 AMs, we wouldn't have, or if we had another 2 AMs, we wouldn't have, at that time, we only had 3. We had 5 AMs, we would have hit our goals. I guarantee that. It was just that when you only have 3, right? If one, like I said, has a bad mindset or something that they're not closing deals, the other one gets sick, then you're down to 1, then you can't hit your numbers. You can't.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So these are just little things. And again, I know I'm talking a lot. I like talking about it. But these are things that matter, right? And this is why I brought it up. We lose money, but it's because of decisions we made earlier. It's also, this is something you got to think of. Me and Chandler are preparing for Q1 right now of 2020 or 2023. And we know how many people we need. We got to start hiring those people now. And that's why we're hiring a lot of those LMs, because it also takes 30, 60 days on average for us to get a lead manager performing consistently every day, understanding the whole process of the job role, getting agreements or getting appointments set up, getting it takes 60 days for them to consistently be 100% confident in performing. And so if we hire them today, it's going to be November till they're performing, right? November 9th, 2 months from now.
Yeah.
And we want them we want them like, that's what we want to do, because when January kicks off, we need them already. We don't want to hire them in January because then we'll be halfway through the quarter and not see anything from them yet,
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe, yeah, again, they're going to be able to have success in 30 days. And we have one at LM that's locked up like 4 contracts, right? He's signed up appointments for 4 contracts in his first 30, which is great, but you can't bank on that. You want to have like a little cushion, 60
Sure.
days. I'll give you 60 days to perform. And then, like I said, you don't want to wait till when you need them to hire, you need them beforehand.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, that makes
So,
sense. Yeah. It takes a while to get people up and running. And then I think one thing that's really unique about your team is everyone is remote.
yeah.
Which I mean, I know a lot of companies have a certain amount of remote employees, but very few have everyone remote. Can you talk about why you decided to go with that model and how you've made it successful?
Yeah, good question. So when I started in 2018, I've done multiple presentations on this. So I'll start right here. It's like in 2018 when I started this business, a month after starting the business, or excuse me, about a month after I got my first deal. So I got my first deal closed in November. About a month later, I went to Switzerland. This is my second time going to Europe. I went with my girlfriend at the time, and now she's
Yeah.
my fiance. So it's not who we broke up, but it's like she was a girlfriend at the time. But no, she lived in Switzerland 4 years. She took me back to where she grew up, and I was like, dang, I want to do this more often. I just
Hmm.
like, I feel like I got $1 million in my pocket anyway, because I just made 10K. And I'm like, I could do this for a living. Like I could just go around. We could live in Europe. This is in 2018. I have text messages from it too. I've done like I said, multiple presentation on it. Like I text I
Yeah.
want to live in Europe. Like I want to do this. And so I knew that I wanted to build a virtual model. I don't want to be in an office. I don't want to be in person going on appointments, because I can't do that virtually in Europe, or I can't do that traveling. So I want to build this business around that. So long story short, that's exactly what sparked it. And
Hmm.
how we did that, it's just we created a team with great and great people, right? And Chandler's a big attest to that. He's the one that hired a lot of those people. Like I told you, when Chandler joined us, we had about 6-7 people. Since now as of today, we're actually doing our team meeting. I was looking, we have 39 people. Well, that's
Wow.
including me. So 38 people on our team. We just hired about like 8 people in the last 3 weeks, but 39 people on our team. And so looking at that, realizing like, hey, look, we came a long way. Like Chandler had said, he hired 30 people, and we've had people with great core values. We've let go, of course, of some people, but at the same time, Chandler's done a great job finding people with our core values, sticking with our culture, fit like what our culture is. And I think it's a great test. Like, why do I think it's successful? How do I keep it successful? It's because we use Discord. It's like a pretty much we're in an office now. We just started that
Hmm.
about 2 weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago. Sorry, I just got a notification about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, Discord, and
Yeah.
it's changed our game, because in the last year, it also incorporated offices. So literally everyone in our team, depending on their role, if they're dispositions, if they're
Uh-huh.
acquisition management, if they're lead management, they have their own office where they join, and that's how we
Uh-huh.
can I can come in there at any time and literally just peep in. Hey, how you guys doing here? And it kind of makes it more of an office feel, right?
Yeah.
As well as having every Friday, like I just was mentioning you, this Friday we had a call with our entire team, and we just share everything that's not work related. This case today was sharing about our culture. What's one thing you like about your culture? So, we're on that call. I mean, we got people from Kansas, people from India, people from
Yeah.
Argentina, Venezuela. And so that's what really makes our culture good. That's what makes, I think, the virtual model for us very well, is because we feel like as if we are in an office with that Discord and with that feeling of the culture with those weekly meetings.
Yeah. Is that Discord room like it's just a chat, or there's like you can do audio in there too? Is that what makes it different
Yeah,
than
audio.
Slack? Or
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what makes it different than Slack, is that there's offices, like literally they're called offices, or we call mine, the
uh
one I'm in is the AM room. And like at any time
Yeah.
I can join this room, and all my acquisition managers are in there. So I can
Yep.
literally say, hey boys, we're changing this up. I can just go into the room. They can unmute themselves, they can listen to me, or they can even deafen themselves, which means
Yeah.
like if I go in there and they're on a live call, they can just block me out.
Yeah.
And so they don't hear it. So it's like that's what makes it different than Slack, exactly. Is that you can do
Yeah.
more of that, um, like true office like scenarios.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Um, and then I know we're running short on time, but one
No, you're
thing that
good.
you guys implemented this year and you've made a huge difference in your business is your MLS strategy. So
Yeah,
for the listeners who don't
exactly.
know about that, could you share what that is?
Yeah, so great question. So beginning of this year, we started talking to one of our mentors of ours that did this model of where every single wholesale deal he gets, he puts on the MLS. Wholesale deal,
Hmm.
not wholesale, right? We're not buying it. And he started teaching us, and we started tweaking it in our own favor and own ways. And so long story short, like Mike brought up, is we pitch everything to a seller in a way that we can get accessibility to the property to list on the multiple listing service. So out of all of our deals this year, um, I would say only probably 5% were not listed on the market. And those are deals that they didn't want us to have any accessibility and we had to buy and put on the market,
Hmm.
or even some maybe a rental I bought. But it's the strategy we do is, again, just, and I'll go very briefly into it, is if a seller wants us to come up in price, I'll give you the principle here. If the seller wants us to come up in price, there needs to be something that we get in return. We can't just come up
Hmm.
20K to their price, right? They want 150. I say I'm at 130. I can't just come up to 150. I need to be able to have something given to me as the buyer, right? And so for our example, our quick pitch, and I just posted a little bit on my stories, like on my Instagram story. Hey, Mike, you want 150? And by the way, in this scenario, I know I can give them 150 because I know I can sell it on the market for 195. But as a wholesale deal, you might only be able to sell that property for 165, 170, right? But I
Hmm.
know I can sell it for 195, 200 on the market. So I say, Mike, you know, I told you my original offer, because we don't give them 150 at first. My original offer is 130. You told me there's no way you would come down to 150 or come down to 130. You want 150. That's it. I've asked you twice, what if I could get 135 approved? And would that work? And you told me, no, Gino, you would hang up on me. You would only ever do 150. So, Mike, by the way, I can see that 150 is important to you. You say, yeah, it is important for me to get. Okay, well, Mike, I believe I have a way I can get you to that 150. Now, I just need you to be flexible with me on one thing. And you'd say, what? And I would say, you need to be flexible with me, or could you be flexible with me on accessibility to the property? And, you might ask, what do you mean? Well, I need about 3 or 4 times a week during our due diligence period to get access to the property, to allow Mike, our retail investors that are accompanied by agents, to come through the property. Now, this is the way I can get you 150. Now, if that's something you don't like, then I don't know what we should do. And then by that time, Mike's begging me. He's like, no, 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 no. You can give me another 20K and I need to come to my house 3 times or 4 times a week. Yeah, come
Right.
on. And so it's, again, like, it's a perspective shift. Cause like when I first heard this, I'm like, no one's going to let you put it on the market. But let's think about it. If we can prove to the seller that if we can come up to, if the price is so important to them, which we know that 95% of the time, it's not really the close quickly that the sellers care about. We just make it
Sure.
seem as wholesalers that everyone wants to close quickly. It's more of, can I get my price? And
Yeah.
so we simply just go up to them and say, look, I can get you it, but you need to do this. They're thinking, oh, okay, do it. Because they don't even want to even think about listing on the market. Even though they know we're doing that, they don't care. We're handling everything for them, right? And they're getting the price they want. So
Yeah.
that's a little bit about the pitch. We do that at most, again, every single deal that we have access to, we put it on the MLS. Um, and yeah, it's pretty much a very brief pitch. Obviously, there's hundreds of objections you could throw at me there, but just to
Sure.
keep it simple, that's basically how it goes down.
And that has allowed you guys to just increase your spread on
Spread,
every deal,
yeah, like I
or
was telling you, we started last year. Our average spread was like 25K,
yep.
and beginning of this year until about, like I told you, where the market shifted in June for a disposition side of things, we were averaging 44K per deal on wholesale, right?
Wow.
So
Yeah, which is awesome.
that's what helped us get those 500K or 450K months. That's what helped us get multiple $300,000 months, was because of that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great margin. I mean, a lot of guys flipping aren't even making, at least in Jacksonville, I can speak, are not making 45,000 on a deal, and they're putting a lot of work into it.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
awesome.
Yeah, it was a great time. Now since this was changed, it's went down back to like 33.
Still pretty solid though for a
Yeah, it's
wholesale
still
deal.
good, man. It's good. It's good now that we know, right? The market shifted. We got to adapt to it. So
Yeah, awesome, man. Oh, looks like we got a comment in here. So you listed on Alex Kranza says, so you list in the it in the MLS for your dispo price. I'm not sure what he means by that.
He maybe means like dispo process or whatever. Yeah, everything goes on MLS. That's our dispo process. We
Yep.
evaluate how we evaluate. This allows us also, Alex, to pay more for properties because now I just offered Mike 150 because I know I can sell it for 195 and still make, after all fees and commissions, make around $35,000, right? I can spend way more than if Mike was the other wholesaler that says, shoot, okay, yeah, market value is 195, but I got to give an investor some discount. So the most I can offer this seller is, like 130 because I need to make money too. And
Yeah.
then I just came up 25K. And again, I have Mike, you know it because you're a part of the group where you have my calculator where you
Yeah.
can actually see the math. But I guarantee I just paid 20K more than Mike and I made the same money as him just because I had a different dispo strategy. Right. And so,
Yeah.
answer your question, Alex. I list it for what it's worth on the market because I worth on the market. I don't sell it for like people say ARV. No. What is the property worth as is on the market? That's what I list it for. Right. That's
Yeah.
it. No
What is
repairs,
as is?
nothing. Right.
Yeah. What is the as is market value versus what is the
Exactly.
wholesale
As
off
is.
market value, which is obviously significantly less. Um,
Exactly.
Gino, I know we're running out of time here, so there's always two questions that I like to end with. And you don't really do in-person appointments, so this one, but you can extrapolate something here, which is what is the most uncomfortable situation that you guys have ever encountered with a seller?
Oh, I got a good one. This will be a 20-minute story, so I'm gonna try to shorten it up. We gave a
Okay.
seller 60 days ahead of time notice to pack up all her belongings because it was during a divorce thing. We bought the property anyway. We gave her 60 extra days after we bought it. We said, "Hey, go pack up all your stuff. We'll help you move your stuff into the
Hmm.
truck because she was like 55 with a kid my age, right? The kid was actually a little bit older than me." And I said, just pack, come back on day 59 to go get ready to pack her stuff up. It was a hoarder. Nothing was been moved. Nothing had been even touched. And I'm talking about we talked to her like every like 5 days to do it. She said she was
Yeah.
doing nothing. I had the house ready to sell at Open Door 3 days later, already a contract signed with them to make 90K off this. This was like the height of right. It was May of 2021 last year. And I was
Yeah.
like, what? I didn't want to jeopardize my first deal with Open Door. Long story short, we spent about 2 straight days moving this lady's stuff out, packing the stuff for her, not just moving it, packing it. I had about 8 people I got runners and people I messaged on or posted on Instagram that came out and helped me. I got threatened pretty much almost with a gun by the son because we threw away their dog's ashes without knowing it, and it was bad. It was a horror story, but long story short, yeah, it was just a bad story. It was just like, and that was not the bad part. The bad part is like, yeah, there was a lot of bad things that happened. Not an our we got threatened with a gun before that too. We're helping them out because we didn't have to do it. And so it was the last
Sure.
end
Yeah.
when they started coming out yelling at us. So long story short, we just told them like you have 12 hours to move all this stuff out. We moved probably 90% of it, so it's not like we left them dry. You have 12
Yeah.
hours. We're gonna put a coat on it. I'm done helping. Anyway, it was a nightmare. I'm just thinking about it, bro. I hate that. Oh, real quick, last thing because I know I like talking a lot. Last thing with
Yeah.
that. Again, that was May 2021. About 2 months ago, so a year later, July, I get something in the mail. It says State Farm Insurance. The lady's name has requested or filed a claim on your behalf or filed a claim on you for like just ruining or whatever it say, legal terms, like for destroying her personal property. You have 7 days to respond to this. Like she like filed a claim on me with like State Farm. Like I never answered it. I haven't heard anything
Yeah.
since, but like he was trying to like
Probably do
sue
that.
me like later, like try to get money from me. I was like, fuck that. No. Oh, and
But
we
you made it
spent like
happen.
10K and we spent 10 or not 10K. We spent about 6K to put her in extended stay for 3 months and her kids.
Wow.
Like all this happened. Like, but yeah, we ended up making still
Wow.
like 90 or 85,000 after everything.
Yeah. Wow.
So
That's
that
a
was a
crazy
long
story.
horror story, but that was it.
Gotcha. So one final question, Gino. If you could go back to 2019 before you'd done your first deal and you were trying to get
Hmm.
it, and you could tell yourself one thing knowing what you know now, what would you tell yourself?
Knowing what I know now, what would I tell myself? I would probably tell myself, knowing now, text more, text sooner. That just came to my head. I don't know if really that's what I would tell myself, but that's what I'm thinking right now is like text more because like when we started texting, we saw credible responses. And that's this year, it's like a 15x return on like
Yeah,
100,000. Like it's like a crazy, like we're just texting is the thing that's took us to another level.
yeah,
And it was a thing that would have saved me also. That's probably what I would say because it saved me 4 months of cold calling nonstop. Even though that probably did help me cold calling, getting better at sales and talking. So
sure.
maybe I wouldn't change it, but it would at least helped me get it some more money in my pocket.
Yeah, cool, man. Well, if people want to reach out to you, whether they want to send you deals or JV on a deal in the Atlanta market, or for any reason they want to reach out to you, how can they do that?
Yeah, man. They can reach out to me on Instagram, Gino, Gino underscore, just like my name here. Underscore twice actually, because I had another account with my underscore, but underscore twice Palomba, Palomba. So you guys can follow
Cool.
me there.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for being on the show. Really appreciate you sharing everything with everyone, and
For
I'm
sure.
sure
Thanks
I'll
for
see
having
you
me,
soon,
Mike.
man.
Yes, sir. We'll see you next week. We'll talk to
Alrighty.
you.